Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LA Valley College Football here on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez here at Monarchs Stadium on a warm and toasty Saturday evening, as the Monarchs take on the Mounties of Mount SAC. It is 1st and 12. 13:37 left in the first quarter. Flores is going to air it out deep for Anderson. He has him open. Ball was slightly underthrown, and there comes the penalty flag. That's going to be a pass interference on Jelani Ellison. Flores showing off that arm. He's a freshman out of La Mirada High School. Ball was at the Mounties 45-yard line, so give him a first down automatically. It's a 15-yard penalty. The Mounties are walking down all the way to the goal line. I think they forget that college rules are a little different than the pro rules. In the NFL, yes, it would be a pass interference. The ball's spotted right where the pass interference occurred. However, this is college rules. College rules, 15-yard penalty from the spot, so the ball advances to the 40-yard line now of the Monarch side. 40 yards to go for a touchdown. Flores back in shotgun formation, trips to his right. Tight end near side. Bobbled snap, but he still gets the handoff to it's going to be a gain of 4 yards to the 36-yard line. Kiawa Kani, the freshman out of Honolulu, on the handoff. 2nd down and 7. 13 minutes left to go here in the first quarter. Flores, 2 receivers to each side of him. Drops back, looks left, gets it to Anderson again. Near sideline, he's dragged down by Dennis Wallace with help of Richard Graham. Let's get it to the starting offensive line for the Mounties of Mount SAC. At left tackle, Joseph Borlan. Right next to him, wearing number 67, Michael Alarcón. Another run to the right side. A lot of room, cut back here by Keanu. All the way back to the left sideline. That's going to be a touchdown for the Mounties. They get on the board first. Is there any penalty flags on the field? No, it looks like there isn't, so it'll be a touchdown. Mounties run out their PAT team. Just to finish off the starting O-line, center 70, Diego Jimenez. Right guard 75, Ben Martinez. And wearing number 90 at right tackle, that is Tupu Alualu. The Mounties run somebody out there late for the PAT. Will be kicked by Noah Carlton. Kick is through the uprights, plenty of distance. 7-0 is the score. Mount SAC leads the Monarchs with 12:22 left to go here in the first quarter. A reminder, you are listening to LA Valley College Football on SportsNetUSA.net. We want to thank the listeners, no matter where you're listening from, for tuning in to LA Valley College Football. The 2021 season finally here. Both teams haven't played since the 2019 season. Both teams are very young and inexperienced. A lot of new faces. Lester Towns, the head coach of the LA Valley Monarchs, he's in his 2nd season with the team. Both Mount SAC and LA Valley decided to opt out of the spring season. Only a handful of community colleges played in the springtime this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. 2019, LA Valley finished with a record of 3-6. Mount SAC, on the other hand, finished with a record of 7-4. They made it to the SCFA regional playoffs, where they lost to RCC, who eventually won the state championship. They lost that game by a final score of 48-0. Noah Carlton to kick off. Back deep to return is A.R. Ishmael. He's going to let this one sail out of bounds. Touchback. So now we will get the first look of the Monarchs offense. They'll start the ball at the 25-yard line. A reminder, they bumped the touchback rules from the 20 to 25, so now there's more of incentives for teams to take that touchback. Starting quarterback for your Monarchs this year, or at least for game number 1, Zachary Chevalier. He's a freshman, 6'2", out of Golden Valley High School. He's going to come out in shotgun formation. 3 receivers to the far side. Drops back. Mounties send pressure. Throws deep far sideline. It was intended for DeAndre Smith. Taking a shot on the first play, and the Mounties were ready for it. They sent pressure up the middle. They sent Tyron Brooks. And Tyron Brooks is a player to keep an eye on. Tyron Brooks played in the 2019 season. He's a sophomore from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. He finished the year, the 2019 season, as a lead tackler on this team. 56 tackles, 3 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss. Also forced a fumble in the 2019 season. Chevalier will now hand it off. It's a fumble. Fumbled snap. Mounties pick it up. Looked like he was on the ground, but he's going to run it all the way in despite the whistles. Now the referees decide to whistle him down. And that's Joshua Taylor, the outside linebacker, picking it up on the ground. Not a clean exchange from Julian Moore and Chevalier. Julian Moore, a returning player from the 2019 season. So they're going to mark the Mounties down at the 24-yard line. It was Joshua Taylor to recover the fumble. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the Mounties. Not the ideal start for the Monarchs that they were hoping for this season. 12:07 left to go in the first quarter. And the Mounties are threatening to score once again, push this lead to 2 scores. A reminder, you're listening to Monarch Football on sportsnetusa.net. Monarchs look like they're going to show pressure. They're only blitz 4. And there's a touchdown again. Flores to Reginald Anderson on the post over the middle. That was Jordan Stevenson in coverage, and he stood no chance. Reginald Anderson very busy already this evening. Flores busy as well. His his first touchdown pass of the evening. First one was a run-in by running back Kawani. Extra point by Carlton is good, so less than 5 seconds come off the clock on that play. And now a 12:01 in the first quarter. Mount SAC leads 14-0 over the LA Valley Monarchs. A reminder, you're listening to LA Valley College Football on sportsnetusa.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, and I'm joined alongside Albert Robles. Good-sized crowd here on the home side of Monarchs Stadium. First football game in 2 years for either team. Head coach Lester Towns excited for the 2021 season to kick off. Two weeks ago, the Monarchs scrimmaged College of the Canyons, and that same Saturday, the Mounties scrimmaged the Pirates of OCC. This one's, again, booted outside the end zone. Carlton has a leg on him, and the Monarchs will start the ball at the 25-yard line going out. Monarchs in the green uniforms, green pants, green bottoms, white numbers, gold Valley across the chest with a gold, I think it's a light gold outline on the white numbers. Gold helmet with white print as Chevalier marches back onto the field. 12:01 here in the first quarter. Still plenty of time for the Monarchs to strike quickly. He keeps it, fakes it. Little read option play. The ball does squirt out at the end, but I believe the referees are going to mark him down. Let's give you the referee names for tonight's match. Head referee wearing the right hat, Ralph Aranda. Ball now at the 29-yard line. Trips to Chevalier's left. Drops back again. More pressure. Brooks coming up the middle, but he's able to get it out to his running back. That is Julian Moore, one of the veterans here on this team. Finished the 2019 season with 71 rushes, 287 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns. 3rd and 1 for the Monarchs, and still early in the game, but you have the feeling if the Monarchs can't get this first down and the Mounties do drive down and score, it could get ugly rather quickly. Trips near sideline to Chevalier's right. Mounties, 5 men on the line. They give it up to Moore. Moore keeping the feet churning. Initially looked like he crossed the 40-yard line, excuse me, the 35, which was the line he needed to cross, and then a second wave of Mountie defenders pushed him back. Looks like they're going to give him the first down, so they capitalize on the 3rd down opportunity. Monarch first down. Ball on the left hash. Chevalier in shotgun. 2 receivers each side. 10:17 left to go in the first quarter. 3 down linemen. They're only going to rush 3. This throw is a little too wide for DeAndre Smith. Now we've seen him go to Smith now twice, just errant passes. Also on the field from the Monarchs, wearing number 5, Dupree Fuller. Wearing number 6, Blake Batarse. We've mentioned already DeAndre Smith's name plenty. He's wearing big number 1. And number 3, Don Harrell. Mounties show pressure from this near side. Receivers are bunched. Now the Mounties walk up late. Chevalier looks like there was some miscommunication between him and Moore and who was going to take that ball. He decides to just fall to the ground, avoid further damage. Now 3rd and 14. Coach Towns is going to call the first timeout of the evening for either team. 9:54 left to go here in the first quarter. A reminder, you are listening to LA Valley College football here on SportsNetUSA.net. Also going on SportsNetUSA.net, Golden West versus Orange Coast College. The bell game. That game kicked off at 6 p.m. Ryan Osborne and Ed Ford on the call. The Rustlers are up 17-0 at halftime. As we get you some other scores around the CCCAA this Saturday, September 4th. Long Beach defeated LA Harbor earlier today by a final score of 32-0. A few games postponed, a few games canceled. Santa Ana did forfeit to Fullerton College, and which was you could say, a ugly affair between the two coaches. They forfeited the 98th key to the county game, and that's always a fun one to have on SportsNetUSA.net. I know Mark Pavlovich and Corey Nalen and the rest of the crew are bummed that that game didn't happen this year. Coach Anthony White in his first season at Santa Ana College. 3rd and 14, Monarchs. Dump it off to Moore. Works as a bubble screen. Didn't get the block on the edge that he needed. Tackled down by Aaron Smith, the DB. Playing corner on the near side. 4th and 8. Coach Towns thought about it, but now he's going to run the punt team back out there. Back deep to return, number 80 for the Mounties, Jordan Allen. Back deep to punt is Ezekiel Savage. Pressure coming from the Mounties, and this ball just dies. I believe that ball was tipped. A lot of pressure coming in from the Mounties. The ball's down there at the 45-yard line of the Monarchs, so great field position again for the Mounties. 9:03 left to go in the first quarter. A reminder, you are tuned in to LA Valley College Football on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, and I'm joined alongside Albert Robles. The sun is setting here in Los Angeles County. Monarchs Stadium. Looking from east to west. Flores gonna chuck it deep once again, and you see the speed on display. The Mounties have a plethora of speed compared to the Monarchs defensive backs. That's Jamar Savage, the freshman out of Lompoc High School. The nearest defender on him was about 10 yards back. So Flores had all day, bunch of time, just reared back and stepped into that one. 20-0 is the score, 8:55. That's twice now. The Mounties have managed to score on one play. If you're wondering, the Mounties, were they ranked in the preseason poll? Yes, they were. PAT by Carlton is good. Going back to the rankings, Mount SAC was ranked number 8th in the Junior College Athletic Bureau Coaches Poll. That was just announced a week and a half ago. Is up 14-10 over Chaffey College. And then San Bernardino Valley up 30-2 on College of the Desert. Another game just started off. Ventura and Moore Park. Ventura already has a 7-3 lead. They motion a player from right to left. Incomplete pass. It was intended for DeAndre Smith. That's the third time they've tried to get Smith the ball, but have failed to do so. The Mounties are flying to the ball. Very experienced defensive line. We were talking about earlier how both teams haven't played in 2 seasons. A lot of freshmen. Not a lot of returners from the 2019 seasons. A lot could have happened. Talking with Coach Towns during the week, a lot of players had trouble keeping up grades, had trouble in their living situations, job-wise. Experiences that many citizens of the United States face and around the world during the COVID-19 pandemic. This pass was intended for Julian Moore out in the flats, and it's going to go incomplete. 3rd and 15. 8:36 left to go in the first. Let's see what Coach Towns and the coaching staff has cooked up for the Monarchs. Mounties putting in their nickel formation. 3 linemen, 3 linebackers stacked behind them. They're 3-3-5. Looks like they're going to bring both outside linebackers to pressure. Rifled in there. The pass was intended for Blake Batarse. Just couldn't get off the pressure from Tyron Brooks, who was lined up out wide. That's a linebacker. Brooks is a name you want to know. He's a sophomore. As I mentioned earlier, led the team in tackles in 2019. The pass was intended for Batarse, but it was overthrown. 8:31 to left to go in the first. Ball is down at the 40-yard line. And that's where the Mounties will take over. 8:24 left to go in the first quarter. A reminder, you're listening to LA Valley College Football on sportsnetusa.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles. We're going to see a new quarterback in the game for the Mounties. They're already up 21-0. Ike Urengwu from the City of Industry is in the game. Drops it off to the flat, and they're going to be, no, there's a whistle down. Pass was intended for Cato Seeley, the tight end, coming across the middle. Joined by Albert Robles on the behalf of sportsnetusa.net. We're here at Monarchs Stadium, and the Monarchs trail the Mounties of Mount SAC 28-0, 6:42 left to go in the first quarter. Incomplete pass thrown by Chevalier. Again, on the run. That's how most of this game has gone. They're going to throw a roughing the passer flag, and that one looks like it's going to go against the Mounties. Chevalier on the ground, takes off his helmet. It was 3rd and 10. Ball was on the the Monarchs 28-yard line. Should be 15 yards tacked on to that. It's a combination of players, but it looked like number 58 for the Mounties, Lovell Moraney, was able to get in there first from the D-line position. First and 10 from the Monarchs 43-yard line. Two receivers split out to Chevalier's both sides. DeAndre Smith near the far sideline. Another fumble. Ball hits the turf. Mounties collapse down on it at the 31-yard line. That was the second string running back in the game, Kawanta Pugh. Couldn't hang on to the ball on that one. He was a 5'6" freshman out of Roosevelt High School. Monarchs struggling on all sides of the ball this evening. So ball at the 32-yard line. Monarchs trail 28-0. We want to, again, thank the listeners tuning into sportsnetusa.net. Reverse. The Mounties run a reverse, and there's a bunch of green turf space left on that left side of the field. He has the lead blockers, and he gets that key lead block at the end. Too much speed on the field for the Mounties. That was number 13, Jawan Richards, who got the reverse. Set up very nicely by that jet sweep. Had all the Monarchs acting and reacting to the left side of the field. Next thing you know, it was Richards all alone on the right side of the defense with one or two players in contention to stop him. Noah Carlton on for the extra point. This one's through the uprights. There's a flag thrown on the far sideline. 6:13 still left to go in the first quarter, folks. Quarterback who's currently in right now, Alex Flores, threw for 3 touchdowns. Starting running back Kiona also has a touchdown as well. The backup's in. Some of the backups been gotten playing time. Number 41 getting his first handoff of the evening, Nicholas Floyd, out of Centennial High School in Riverside, California. He's getting in on the action. And then they put in their backup quarterback, Ike Urengwu, the third freshman, 6'3". He threw for a touchdown as well. This one's dumped off into the flats on the far sideline. And look at the Mounties offensive players just continuing to break tackle after tackle. That was a tight end, Cato Seeley. Second reception on the evening. The Mounties are a team, a program really, that have been by far one of the best in the state of California and really throughout the entire community colleges in the United States. They're led by head coach Bob Destraub in his 17th season. As I mentioned earlier, they went 7-4 in the 2019 year. They lost to RCC in the first round of the SCFA regional playoffs, where they got pounded by the Tigers 48-0. RCC was on a roll that year. Penalty, that's going to go against Reginald Anderson. Not too many penalties we've seen in this game on the Mounties side of things. Most of them have come defensively, not a whole lot offensively. So to back the ball up, first and nope. Ball's currently at the 41, 42. So they're going to mark it back down. They'll redo the down again. First and 10, a minute left to go in the first. 35-0. The Mounties lead over the Monarchs. First game of the 2021 season for both teams. Looks like they're missing a body. A Mountie player comes running out. I believe that's going to be either a timeout or a delay of game from the Mounties. The player who ran onto the field rather late was Michael Ben, the fullback. Again, you are listening to LA Valley College Football on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles. Here at Monarchs Stadium, it was a warm and kind of muggy Saturday afternoon, and even going into the evening time, but the sun has now set over the LA Valley skyline. Temperatures have cooled off. The city of Los Angeles reached a high of 98 degrees today. But the temperature now has cooled, and we'll see if the Monarchs can cool down the Mounties offense thus far. As I mentioned earlier, they decided to throw in some of their backups. Some running backs getting some playing time that usually don't. Ike Urengwu threw a touchdown pass. Starting quarterback Alex Flores back in the game now. He was also a captain at the beginning of the game. Monarchs line back up on defense. First and 10, ball on the Monarchs 42-yard line. Mounties heading from right to left in their white uniforms, white pants. Red numbers on the uniforms, red helmet with the white stripe down the middle. A few subs coming in for the Mounties. And then a classic, just their number, no logo, no M, no nothing on the helmet, just their number on both sides of the helmet. Flores gets the call, relays it to his offensive line and the rest of his team. Two tight ends, one to each side. This one's a handoff up the middle. And look at that push. The lane created by the offensive line. The Mounties dominant on all facets of the game. Things are getting chippy, too. Monarch defensive players are going to have to be careful. Isaiah C's jawing back and forth with Trenton Finley of the Mounties. That touchdown was scored by Nicholas Floyd. That penalty was after the touchdown, so I believe that touchdown's still going to count. Right now on the scoreboard, they got 41-0 Mounties. 5 seconds left in the first quarter, and yes, we're just in the first quarter, folks. Referee's going to talk it over. As a crew, Noah Carlton's ready to go. He wants to kick his PAT. Tough sledding here for the Monarchs here at the beginning of the game. They finally break the huddle. So they're actually calling an unsportsmanlike conduct on both sides. Both penalties will negate one another. Offsetting penalties. Touchdown still counts. No advancement on the kickoff or kickoff return, depending on where you're looking at it. 5 seconds left to go in the game, in the first quarter, excuse me. Noah Carlton waiting for the whistle. It was a 42-yard touchdown run from Nicholas Floyd. PAT is good. 42-0 is the score. 5 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Referees having a chat with a few of the Monarch players, making sure things don't get out of hand, things don't get chippy. Still early on in the season. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, LA Valley is an American Conference team. They play in the Pacific, they're an American Division team. They play in the Pacific Conference. They did move from the American Metro Conference to the American Pacific 2 years ago. 3 seasons ago, actually, in 2018. But it feels like 2 seasons ago because of the lack of a season during the 2020 academic year. Lester Towns in his second year as head coach. Second season for the Monarchs. A player from the Los Angeles area, as this is going to be tackled down at the 23-yard line. Going to be holding on the Monarchs, so walk them back 10 yards. It looks like their ball is placed down at the 21-yard line, so should be backing up to the 11. More penalties hurting the Monarchs. That's going to be the end of the first quarter. Your score, Mounties 42, Monarchs 0. A reminder, you're listening to Monarch Football on SportsNetUSA.net. I am Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles. We apologize for the technical difficulties earlier in the game. Still unable to stream this game live, but we will have this pre-recorded up on the website. Again, thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. Next week, on the 11th of September, we'll have more action on SportsNetUSA.net. Fullerton College will be at Cerritos College. You can tune into that game here on the website, SportsNetUSA.net. Also, I'll be driving to Pasadena City College with Ryan Osborne as the Monarchs take on Pasadena City next week. That game will kick off at 6 p.m. on SportsNetUSA.net. We also have East LA football as they take on Chaffey College. Golden West at Palomar College. That game will also be on SportsNetUSA.net. So a full slate of games for you next Saturday. I will be joined alongside my partner Ryan Osborne at Pasadena City College next week, 6 p.m. for the Monarchs and Pasadena City. Ezekiel Savage in the game now for the Monarchs. Trying to get some reps for the second unit. Screen pass to Julian Moore. And looked like Julian Moore had too far upfield. Three rushers got in pretty cleanly, and that's the goal for a screen. You want to allow the rush to come in, but Savage was unable to make a accurate throw while backpedaling to his running back. Still plenty of starters out for the Monarch offense. Savage has 3 receivers bunched up to the far sideline. Ball is on the right hash. Officially down at the 13-yard line. Second down and 10. Speed option play to Julian Moore. Makes a defender miss. Makes another defender miss. 2 nice cutbacks by Moore. Going to be tackled down at the 18-yard line. Despite the missed tackles, the speed from the Mountie defenders, they're coming in flying from all different angles. First player Moore made miss was the outside linebacker. The key player to watch out for is Brandon Atika, standing at 6'5", out of Western Canada, Calgary to be specific. Savage drops back to pass, and this one's nearly intercepted by linebacker Reynard Bass. 4th and 5, and that'll bring out the punt team once again for the Monarchs. Only so many things can be said on that Monarchs sideline by head coach Lester Towns and company to keep his guys motivated. The Mounties dominating on all facets of the game. Now it looks like there are players not running out onto the punt formation. Frustrating performance thus far, and obviously the things haven't gone the Monarchs' way, but you would still like to see, as a coach, your players come out to the special teams unit that they need to. 42 to zip is the score. Timeout by LA Valley College. They trail to Mount Sac by not a final score, 42-0. 14-10 in the second quarter. I am Noah Alvarez. You are listening to LA Valley College football on SportsNetUSA.net. Also going on SportsNetUSA.net at the time of this recording, at least. Not sure when we'll be able to get this up to you guys. But we have Golden West College and OCC, the bell game going on, the first game of the year. Traditionally played at the end of the season. Ed Ford and Ryan Osborne on the call. Pirates getting dominated in that game as well. 24-0 is the score in the third quarter. Savage doing double duty, not only quarterbacking, but he punts this one in. A nice tackle down the field by Shabani Etienne. He was the gunner flying down the field, makes the tackle. And Jaden Allen had no chance of escaping that tackle. We'll get you some more scores around the CCCAA. Again, first week of community college football action. Yesterday, Friday, September 3rd, Laney College took on Modesto College. Modesto was ranked very high up in the JCAB rankings in the preseason, the Junior College Athletic Bureau rankings. I formation, Ike hands it off up the middle to Nicholas Floyd. Gain of about 2 yards. Yes, Laney College did lose to Modesto, 35-28. Laney, obviously, if you are a fan of the show on Netflix, Last Chance U, was highlighted during their 2019 season. Excuse me, I believe it was their 2018 season. No, correction, it was 2019. My apologies to Laney College and Last Chance U. 2nd down and 6. Strong I formation. Ike Udawengu hands it off up the middle. Seeing some power football here from the Mounties. This is Jermaine Dendy on the handoff. He's one of the few sophomores on either squad this evening. Talking with both coaches before the game. 2 years off of football without any games, it's kind of hard to gauge where your team is at. Mount Sac as a team had a few more returners, sophomores from the 2019 squad than LA Valley College. A lot of turnover at this community college level. And of course the pandemic didn't help. Players either unable to work, unable to afford their housing, unable to keep up their grades, forced to move, just different life situations. And however, for Jermaine Dendy, was a key special teams player, had 8 returns in the 2019 season. Average 30 yards per kickoff return. There's going to be a delay of game penalty on the Mounties. So back that ball up. Ball is placed now at the 35-yard line. Yard to gain is the Monarchs 46. Second and long. Ike Urengwu, the third, standing at 6'3", 195 pounds. Played at Workman High School. This ball is thrown over the middle. Making the tackle for the Monarchs is Zaid Seir, freshman defensive back. Juwan Richards, who already caught a touchdown earlier, was on the receiving end of Udawengu's pass. 3rd and 9. Monarchs trying to give something this home crowd could cheer about. This is another drag thrown over the middle, and just too much speed from the Mounties. He's finally caught from behind. That was the tight end, Joseph Bongono. Tackled from behind by Vernon Tucker, the linebacker. Man coverage on the back end for the Monarchs, and the linebacker just stood no chance trying to chase down Bongono. He's another sophomore on this Mounties team. Played at High Point High School. Didn't see a whole lot of action in his first year in 2019. Here's a trap play to the left side. Penetration up the middle from the defensive tackle. That's George Moradians. Second and 8. Ball on the Monarch 35-yard line. 10:50 left to go in the second quarter. Mounties up 42-0 on the Monarchs of LA Valley College. Two tight ends to Ike's Udawengu's left. It's a power play as both tight ends pulled from left to right. Trailing him was running back Raven Tribune. Freshman out of Jacksonville, Florida. Third down and 3. Yard to gain is the Monarch 28-yard line. Ball is currently placed at the 31.5-yard line. Monarch making a few last-minute substitutions. 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. 30. Takes the ball up the left side, breaks a few tackles, and is finally brought down at the 6-yard line. Tribune, another out-of-state player. And that's something interesting when you are watching community college football. It's unlike any other level of football, especially here in the state of California. Very competitive, a lot of very renowned programs in the state. When you look at Mount SAC, Fullerton College, obviously, Riverside City College, as well as Laney College and a few other colleges up north, College of San Mateo, Modesto, who we mentioned early. All these programs have not only won state championships, but they've also put plenty of players from their programs to the Division I level, which is the goal here for community college coaches. And once you build a certain reputation like the Mounties have, you're able to recruit not only kids from your area in Walnut, California, and that Diamond Bar / West Covina area, but now they're able to pull kids from out of state as well, out of the area. Pull kids from Northern California, pull kids from Arizona, from Maryland, from Florida. And while other states may have community college football, very few programs are as renowned as, like I said, the Mounties of Mount SAC. As this is a loss of yards on the play. First time we've seen a tackle for loss by the Monarchs defense. Home crowd reacts accordingly. But going back to the conversation, very few community colleges across the nation can compete with the reputations of Mount SACs, of the Fullerton colleges, of the San Mateos, of the Saddlebacks. Plenty of players have come out of these programs. Players like Bernard Pierce, Delaney Walker have come out of Mount SAC. Monarchs showing pressure up the middle again with Tribune. Just looking to really run the clock out. That's the goal, even though they were showing pressure all the way. And we've seen the speed of the receivers for Mount SAC just blow by the DBs here at LA Valley College. So if they wanted to, they could definitely air it out if needed. 2 receivers to each side. Looks like, again, they're going to go zero coverage. 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage. Don't know who's coming. Udowengu snaps the ball. Everybody's coming. Quick slant to the slot receiver on the left side. That was Jerron Richards' fourth catch of the evening. He gets down to the 5-yard line. Mounties will send out their PAT, so we will see, not PAT, their field goal unit. We will see Noah Carlton kick a field goal from the left hash, be it at that. About 3 steps back from his normal position for a PAT. But the angle is going to make this a little trickier. This would be a 22-yard field goal if he converts. Snap is good. Hold is good. And the kick is good. Right through the uprights. 45-0 now is the score. Mounties lead over your Monarchs here with 6:50 left to go in the second quarter. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined alongside Albert Robles, calling LA Valley College football on the behalf of SportsNetUSA.net. Reminder, we have some games going on next week, September 11th, and hopefully we don't run into any technical difficulties. Fullerton College, the Hornets, will get their official first game of the season after I guess you could say, I don't even know what you would want to call it. Maybe a cowardly forfeit from Santa Ana College. I guess we can call it that. They forfeited their first game, the key to the county game that would have been the 98th key to the county game this Saturday. They canceled it earlier. I want to say it wasn't this week. It was about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. But Fullerton College will get their first game of the year next week at Cerritos College, the Falcons. If, again, you're a follower of community college football, Cerritos College put out a running back by the name of Ramondre Stevenson. Played at Oklahoma. The likes of Kyler Murray and different quarterbacks that they have ran through there. Big hole for the returner here as the Monarchs are going to get good field position or better field position than they have in the past. As that return by Dante Coxum returned all the way to the 35-yard line. That's where the Monarchs will start this drive. But going back to the conversation, Cerritos did have a running back by the name of Ramondre Stevenson, who I got to see in person back in 2018, play against Fullerton College in a wet Saturday afternoon game, and Fullerton held them to under 100 yards, one of the few teams to do so that season, but he went on to Oklahoma, went on to the New England Patriots. He's looking and battling different running backs there for some playing time. Savage's pass intended for Dupree Fuller off the hands. It was a little wide, but you expect a receiver to make that catch when it hits your hands square in the gloves just like that. Especially with all the different material that goes into gloves, making them sticky, making them last longer. You think the receivers would be able to hang on regardless of how hard the ball is thrown. Still haven't seen Zachary Chevalier in quite some time. Number 10 was a starting quarterback this evening. Did get hit pretty hard. Not sure if he was pulled out due to injury or just due to the score and getting some second unit reps in. This time, another pass, Dupree Fuller. A little deeper this time, 8-yard gain. Tougher catch, and Fuller was able to haul that one in. It's always the tougher catches that feel like the receivers and the tight ends and running backs are able to make. And the easier catches are usually dropped. 3rd and 2. Ball on the Monarchs 44-yard line, 43-yard line. 6 minutes left to go in the second quarter. Savage joined by Julian Moore to his left. 2 receivers to each side. Savage hands it off to Moore. Moore lowers the pad level. He keeps his feet moving, but looks like forward progress will be stopped there at the 44-yard line. Gain of 1. 4th and 1, down 45. I think if you're Lester Towns and company, you're going to go for it. Also next week on sportsnetusa.net, I'll be driving to Pasadena City College and joining my colleague Ryan Osborne as the Monarchs take on Pasadena City College. That game will kick off at 6 p.m. next week, Saturday, September 11th. East LA College will take on Chaffey College. We'll also have that game on sportsnetusa.net. And last but not least, the Rustlers of Golden West will take on Palomar, as this one pulled by Ezekiel Savage. Savage lowers the shoulder, and it looks like the referee on the far sideline is going to give him that first down. He's telling the chains to move forward, and that is a Monarch first down. Savage has a bigger frame than Zachary Chevalier. Savage standing at 6'3", 240 pounds from Oxnard, California. This one's handed up the middle. No chance for Julian Moore. Unless the Monarchs are able to create some sort of misdirection, some sort of counter, or some sort of just misdirection play, they're not fooling anybody on the defensive side from the Mounties. Even the second stringers that are in right now for the Mounties defense, just getting a push up front on the offensive line. They're fast on the back end. Sending blitzes. 5 men come on the rush here. Savage forced to roll to his left. Throws a jump ball, and there's going to be a pass interference call. That ball was intended for Dupree Fuller. In coverage. Number 19, Mason White, 6'1" freshman from Van Nuys. So that'll keep the chains moving. 2 first downs on this drive for the Monarchs as they look to put some points up on the board and head into the half with some sort of momentum. Savage has 2 receivers each side to ball placed on the middle of the field, 40-yard line, on the Mounties 40 at that. The Mounties have 3 down linemen. Looks like they're bringing pressure from this near sideline. 5 rushers come. Savage able to sidestep a defender. This ball is tipped, deflected, and it's intercepted by That's Bryce Pierre. Bryce Pierre on the return, cuts across the grain. He has all sorts of green in front of him. Moore is going to be the last player to make an attempt to tackle him, and he does down at the 9-yard line. And that was just unfortunate for the Monarchs. The pass was intended for Blake Batarse. It bounced off Batarse, and good quick reaction by Pierre. He's able to tip that ball up to himself, run under it, stop his feet, run all the way to the left, was near the sideline, cut it back across the grain, all the way to the right. And it looked like if he went full speed, I don't know if he was just dogging it because of the score or because he was just that tired, gas, lack of conditioning maybe. He started coasting all the way, and right around the 9-yard line was when Julian Moore was able to lower the shoulder and make the tackle to prevent the touchdown. The Mounties now will come out in 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, 22 personnel. And Alex Flores now the quarterback. So looking to try some different things. They pull the left guard up the middle to the right side, and that's going to be a touchdown for Israel Stevens, the sophomore out of Lakewood, Washington. So another touchdown for the Mounties. 51-0 is the score pending the extra point. Mounties have dominated from front to finish, from start to finish. in all facets of the game. This one, PAT is missed. Hits the left upright. Carlton unable to finish the evening perfect. .331 left to go in the second quarter. Monarchs trail 51-0 to the SAC Mounties. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles, behind the scenes, trying to get the stream up for sportsnetusa.net. Turned out to be a wonderful, cool evening here at Monarchs Stadium. It was very hot earlier in the day, reached 98 degrees here in Los Angeles, in the area of Valley Glen. Worked up a good sweat, trying to get the equipment up to the press box. And of course, the press box, a little poorly ventilated. Can't complain though. As we're here at Monarchs Stadium for some Saturday night football. This one will be returned at the 5-yard line. He's going to cut across the game as well, right to left. Makes a shifty move, makes a defender miss around the 40, and he's eventually tackled down at the 49-yard line of the Monarchs. So great return there from Jelani Ellison. Best starting field position for the Monarchs of the evening. Let's see if they can capitalize on it. Their last drive was ended due to an interception by Bryce Pierre. The pass was intended for Blake Batarse. Batarse tipped off his shoulder pad, it looked like. Pierre was able to tip the ball up to himself. He returned it all the way down to the 9-yard line, where the Mounties took over and scored on their first play. Ezekiel Savage in the game, still for the Monarchs. 3 receivers out to his right. Number 17, Dallas Martin, making his first appearance of the game. Savage drops back. Free defender. And this one's thrown right to his lineman. The lineman was not expecting that catch. That was Taleem Thompson, the big left tackle over on the left side. Unable to contain the rush. And we mentioned his name earlier, Brandon Natika, one of the more dominant players to watch out for. Could be a conference defensive player of the year for the National Central Division. Atika out of Calgary, Canada, standing at 6'5", 295 pounds. Both teams have a handful of players from the country of Canada. So it'll be 2nd and 15, loss of downs. Loss of downs and loss of yards. Can't fault Savage there. He had some pressure right in his face, unable to make a decision on what he wanted to do. 4-down lineman again for the Mounties. Savage forced to step up. Tries to dump it off to his running back that was in the flat. That was Coxum. But an errant pass sails over his head. Be 3rd down and 15. Excuse me, 3rd and 15. 3:05 left to go in the second quarter. Savage has 2 receivers out to each side of him. Monarchs look to move the chains. Mounties showing blitz. They're sending 6. Savage forced to roll to his left. Looks for someone down the field. He keeps his feet moving, but it's a quartet of Mountie defenders in on the sack. Savage gets up very gingerly. He's going to have to do punting duties. .225 Fake punt. 4th and forever. And the Monarchs decide to run a fake punt. They do get to the 49, which was where the drive had originally started, but thanks to a few penalties and a few plays that went for loss of yards. Questionable play call, but what can you do when you're down 51-0? Trying to mix it up, spice things up for the home crowd, spice things up for the home sideline. Try and get some life into this team. Because while this game may have become unwinnable for the Monarchs, we'd still like to see them fight, work on some things prior to their next week's game against Pasadena City College. Monarchs looks like they're showing pressure. This one handed up off to the middle. And shooting out of a cannon was Israel Stevens. Stevens picks up 12 yards on the handoff. He will head to the sideline after his helmet popped off on that one. Coming in for him is another new face. Number 27, Marcus Brown, sophomore from Upland High School. Brown gets it over to the left side. Stiff arms the defender, and he's finally pushed out of bounds at the 22-yard line. First and 10. Mounties hand the ball off again. This time, they're able to put Stevens back into the game. Stevens does hit the ground and the ball does pop out, but I believe the referees are going to mark him down by contact. 1:31 left here, clock ticking in the second quarter. They don't give him the first down. It's 2nd and inches. Ball on the 15.5-yard line for the Mounties. In the red zone, looking to strike once again. Press coverage from the outside corners. The Monarch defense, we'll see if Udengwu wants to test them. This time, it looked like it was a read option, and Udengwu was a little undecisive on who to hand it off to or whether to keep it, but Stevens trips up on Udengwu's foot. There is a flag on the play, near sideline, thrown around the 14-yard line. Player was lined up in the neutral zone. That was on the cornerback, Shabani Etienne. 40 seconds left in the second quarter. Udengwu in shotgun. Hands it off to Steve. No, he keeps it. Able to fake out the defense, and he's able to get all the way down to the 2-yard line. 2-yard line was the yard to gain, so we'll see. They do give him first and goal. 14 seconds left. Let's see if the Mounties try and score one more play before the end of the first half. Two and a half seconds left, and the ball is whistled dead. Looks like there was a penalty before the snap. Still waiting for the call from our referee in charge, Aranda. So 5-yard penalty, ball now placed at the 7-yard line. 2 seconds left. Udengwu gets the ball snapped. Pass, and it's deflected. Great defensive ball skills From the defensive back, Isaiah Aziz. That's got to be an encouraging play heading into the halftime for the LA Valley Monarchs. Again, they trail by a score of 51-0 at the half. Lester Towns and company have plenty to say, I'm sure, in the halftime locker room. Reminder, you're listening to LA Valley College Football here on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles. Well, it's been a one-sided affair in the first half. It only took a few plays for the Mounties to score. Welcome back to LA Valley College Football here on SportsNetUSA.net. Allison will take it at the 2-yard line, heading from right to left. This has been successful, probably one of the most successful parts for LA Valley College thus far in this game. As they trail 51-0 here at the start of the second half, the ball will be placed. Let's see where they mark it, the 36-yard line. Near side judge is at the 36, far side is at the 39, so they eventually do mark it at the 36, and that's where the LA Valley Monarchs will start this next field possession. Now, even if you're down by this score, if you're Coach Lester Towns and company, you're still looking for your team to play hard, still to work on some things, maybe try some plays that you guys haven't been able to practice as much. But you don't want to see them quit on themselves. Even if this game has become unwinnable. Savage is in shotgun. He motions the running back outside of the backfield, and this is handed off to Julian Moore up to the left side. There's Elijah Hudson actually in at running back. Elijah Hudson joined by Dante Coxum. Two running backs, one on each side of Savage. Savage drops back, rolls right, tries to throw it to Coxum, and Coxum just drops it off his hand. Savage ends up with his helmet off of his head on that one. It looks like a Mount SAC defender came in late across his face. That was Tupu Alu Alu. So it'd be a roughing the passer penalty. Advance the ball 15 yards for the Monarchs, and now they're on the plus side of the 50. Ball on the Mounties 47-yard line. 14:06 left to go in the third. That same formation. Two receivers up top. Both Coxum and Hudson on each side of Savage. This time they're going to motion out Hudson to the right. Coxum leases out to his left. This is going to be a wheel route up the left sideline, and this one is caught by Coxum. So he's able to hang on to this one. Beautifully timed throw by Savage. There is a penalty thrown in the backfield, and this is typically thrown in the vicinity of holding. It looks like that's going to be the call. Referee Ralph Aranda officially makes it official, and it is a 10-yard penalty on the Monarchs. It's probably another thing, if you're Coach Lester Towns and company, you want to see get cleaned up here in the second half, is just the ability to play without making any penalties. Silly penalties like unsportsmanlike conduct, penalties like holding, pass interference, stuff after the whistle. It's all cost the Monarchs significant yards. Things that they wouldn't be able to do in a close game. It would put them out of contention. 4-man, 3-man rush for the Mounties. This ball is thrown over the middle. He had two receivers open running towards each other. Wasn't sure if that was miscommunication. Daniel De Villar and Jordan Stevenson were the receivers running both post routes. Both of those players were right in the middle, or the ball, excuse me, was thrown right in the middle of both those two receivers. Incomplete pass, 2nd down and 20. Have not seen Zachary Chevalier. Chevalier. Second and 20, same formation. Hudson on his right, Coxum on his left. Screenplay for Coxum, but this one forces him to catch it on the ground, and that will be down for a loss of a yard at the Monarch 42-yard line. So the Monarchs heading in the wrong direction. This time they're going to flank Coxum out in the slot to the right side. He's joined by Smith and Batarse. Cameron Lewis, the lone receiver on the near sideline by himself. In line with the 4. Mounties look like they're bringing pressure. 6 men come to rush. Savage tries to spin out to his left. Throws it up for grabs. This one is caught. Oh, Lewis had it in his hands. Could have been intercepted, then could have been caught. Mason White was a defender who tipped the ball up. Now he's jawing back and forth with Lewis, but Lewis had it right in his hand, had probably about 2 opportunities to make that catch. There's another penalty on the play, and this could be another roughing the passer. And despite probably coming out here with the victory, if you're the Mounties, you do want to preach to your defensive line and anyone who's been rushing the quarterback on these blitzes that they've been calling to lay off, because if this was a close game, this was a game that was in contention, it's a team that they're trying to beat for the conference title, they're not going to be able to get away with all these penalties, but keep setting them back, keep the drive alive for other teams like the Fullerton Colleges, like the San Diego Mesas, like the El Caminos. They're going to have to clean up their defensive discipline when rushing the passer. This one looked like a quarterback design draw. Savage goes up the right side. Gain of about 3-4 yards. He's tackled down at the 40-yard line. That was Marcel Logan getting in on the action. Playing nickel corner with the 2nd string. Looks like the Mounties are in their 3-3-5 defense. 3 down linemen. 3 linebackers. 5 DBs. 2 linebackers walk up to the right side of the line of scrimmage. Coxum gets the ball on the handoff after being motioned from the left side of the formation. Tackled down. Loss of about a half a yard. One thing Coach Towns told me before the game this week was he is very excited about this team's speed, and we have seen it on display, but a lot of the speed has been used running side to side or sometimes even running backwards. Offensive line hasn't gotten a great push forward on the defensive front from Mount Sac, and also just the Mount Sac defense has been flat out fast on all facets of the game. All 3 levels, D-line, linebackers, secondary. Looks like they're sending more pressure again. Going to dump it off short to Hudson, and this one's thrown behind Hudson. Hudson couldn't grab onto it. Savage trying to be a little too cute with it. Try to dink it in there, but instead it falls incomplete. 11:13 left to go. That's going to force a 4th and 8. I'd be careful if you're Mount Sac. They ran a fake punt on 4th and forever back in the 4th quarter. I think it was 4th and 30 to be exact. Savage back deep to punt. One lone rusher, and he gets in for Mount Sac. Mount Sac's able to recover the ball, and he is tackled down. Aeneas Foreman was the linebacker who scooped it up. And it looked like number 22 is the one who broke free off the edge. That was Lance Russell from Notre Dame, the high school out in Riverside County. So the second blocked punt we've seen, one was tipped, and it still was able to go forward. This one was full on block. Didn't even get past the original line of scrimmage. And it'll be Mountie ball here at the Monarch 41-yard line. 11:05 left to go in the third quarter. You are listening to LA Valley College football on sportsnetusa.net. Ike Urengwu, the third, back in at quarterback. Strong I formation out of the pistol. They're handing it off to a new running back off to the left side, and look at him go. Get 13 yards on that carry, pushed out at the 28-yard line. That was the first we've seen of Karan Johnson, another sophomore, another out-of-towner, an out-of-state athlete from Baltimore, Maryland. A handful of sophomore running backs from this Mount SAC team that is very talented, runs very powerful. They also got a lot of speed. I believe that's going to be a false start on their fullback. Looked like he took off a little too early. Wearing number 44, that's Michael Ben. Another player out of state, sophomore from Brooklyn, New York. So it'll be 1st and 15. Ball on the Monarchs 34. Lately, the Mounties have been very respectful in running the ball very often. This one, motioning from left to right. They're going to give it up on the jet sweep to Richards. Richards only able to get maybe a yard, half a yard or so, before he's met by a wall of Monarch defenders. Three receivers out to Urengwu's left. Another late decision to pull the ball. He forces his running back to trip up, but he's still able to pick up 7, maybe 6 yards in the process. Tackled down at the 25-yard line. That was Johnson, who thought he was getting the handoff, started running, and then Urengwu's long strides may have tripped him up. Now into the game is Michael Ben, the fullback, also subbing into the game. Lucas Moore, freshman receiver from Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia, another out-of-stater. And as I mentioned in the first half, programs like Mount SAC, among many others in the state of California, just very reputable as far as getting players to the next level. This one's handed off to Ben. Ben tries to get outside, but he doesn't have that elite speed his teammates do. And he's tackled down at the 26-yard line, loss of 2. 4th down, will we see Noah Carlton? And looks like he's jogging out to the field for a field goal attempt. We'll see where this one is going to be held at. 8:10 left to go in the third quarter. Mounties still up 51-0. Those will be their first points if they convert on the field goal of the second half. But just to continue the discussion and a little bit more after the field goal attempt by Noah Carlton. High snap, good hold. This one kicked end over end, but it's 2 left. He hooked it. Looked like it was curving a little too much from our angle, and that'll be no good for Carlton. He missed a PAT earlier in the first half. Now he has a missed field goal on the day as well. So it's still 51-0. Monarchs trail to Mount SAC. You're listening to LA Valley College football here on sportsnetusa.net. I'm Noah Alvarez, joined by Albert Robles. Obviously, not an ideal situation. Technical difficulties all across the board today. But we're still here. We're still broadcasting this game, whether it's pre-recorded or not. Trying to give you, the listener, the best listening experience here on sportsnetusa.net. Trying to showcase these kids who are not only trying to make it to the Division I level, but Division II, Division III, as well as even further on past that. And we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. Mount SAC is a very reputable program as far as getting kids to the next level. And that's why they're able to recruit all over the country, as this pass is incomplete. Intended for Coxum. We've seen that play before. The running back wheels out to the left side and the near sideline. This time it was just a little overthrown by Savage. But the Mounties have continuously put out players to the not only to the Division I level, but to many different Division I and Division II, Division I AA colleges. They've had pros come from their program, players like Delaney Walker, longtime NFL tight end. Antonio Pierce, another player to come from Mount SAC. Ooh, Savage. Looks like he stepped wrong on that one and takes another sack. He's sacked down at the 15-yard line. If you're watching closely to that Monarchs sideline, Chevalier was going to walk out, but it looked like one of the coaches told him not to. So I'm not sure if he's battling an injury. Looks like 18 is the other quarterback on the roster, Wesley Shaminga. As Savage tried to get to the sideline, but he falls right there short of it. But just to continue the discussion, the Mounties, Fullerton College, programs like City College of San Francisco, San Mateo, Modesto, those programs have repeatedly sent players not only to the Division I levels, but to many different four-year university levels, and have had some players go on to play in the pros. And because they have this reputation, they're able to recruit kids all over. If you look up and down this Mount SAC roster, there's players from Maryland, there's players from Florida. Sure, there's a player from City of Industry, from Rancho Cucamonga, from La Mirada, but there's players all over the country, from Missouri, from Tacoma, Washington, from Kentucky, another one in Indiana, South Dakota, New Jersey, Canada, obviously, and that's one thing too. Coach Lester Towns told me that he has a few kids from the Canada area as well. But this is not something that happened overnight. Mount SAC has been building this program up for the better half of the, past 2-3 decades. Bob Jastrob, in his 17th year with the program, has done a wonderful job. In 2019, they did win the National Central Conference. They were able to defeat Fullerton College in that final regular season game of the year. They did take on RCC, who went on to win the state championship that year. They did lose by a final score of 48-0. RCC was on another level that year. Here's Wesley Shaminga. Throws it out wide to the right. This one could have been intercepted. That is about the 8th drop we've seen from an LA Valley College receiver. Pass was intended for Daniel Del Villar. Force a 4th down. Mount SAC also has a very reputable women's basketball program. If you look at other community colleges around the area too, Fullerton College has a reputable men's basketball program, men's soccer as well as women's soccer. City College of San Francisco has a very reputable men's basketball program. And we referenced the show earlier in the broadcast, Last Chance U. They were able to get in a basketball team, East LA, the Huskies, in on the action as well. Just some of the top programs across different sports. Can he punt it away? Nope. Dennis Wallace, the backup punter, getting in on the action, fumbled the snap a few times and wasn't able to get the punt off, so it's been that kind of evening for the LA Valley Monarchs. They trail 51-0, 6:54 left to go in the third quarter. Wallace is going to march back out there for defensive duties. The ball will be placed at the 15-yard line. Generous spot. I thought he got tackled out around the 13 or 14-yard line. Regardless, it shouldn't make a difference for the Mount SAC offense, who has been rolling today. Johnson joining Urangwu in the backfield. Going to hand it off to Johnson, who jump cuts over to the left side of the formation. Nice move there at the line of scrimmage. Good penetration initially. From Isaiah Johnson, the linebacker, sophomore. One of the few sophomores on this team from Crenshaw High School. A little bit of confusion on the Monarch end, and this one is handed off to Johnson, who bounces it outside the tackles. Tough running for him. He falls down at the 7.5 yard line. Should be 3rd and inches. They're going to run out their fullback, Ben, out there. Look like they're going to be under center, too. Udangwu walking up to the center. But because they made some substitutions, LA Valley is able to make substitutions as well. So nice job by the umpire there to stand over center until LA Valley finishes their substitutions. Udangwu hands it up. Johnson up the middle, shoots out of a cannon, nearly untouched. He's finally dragged down from behind. And he's able to get in for a touchdown. .554 left to go in the 3rd quarter, pending the extra point. Mount SAC, regardless, up big. First game of the year, 2021 season for either team. This one's a low line drive, but it splits the uprights. 58-0 is the score here on SportsNetUSA.net. A reminder, we will have more community college football next week on SportsNetUSA.net. My hopes is that there's little to no technical difficulties as far as getting that stream live. Fullerton College will be taking on Cerritos, the Cerritos Falcons at Cerritos College. You can tune into that game on SportsNetUSA.net. That game will kick off. Let me pull up the exact time for you guys. At 6 p.m. So a handful of 6 p.m. games for us. LA Valley College will be traveling to Pasadena City College. Both Ryan Osborne and myself will be on the call for that one. Another game that kicks off at 6 o'clock next Saturday. East LA will be traveling to Chaffey College. That game kicks off at 6 p.m. as well. And last but not least, Golden West will be traveling to Palomar to take on the Comets. That game, I believe, is an earlier kickoff time. No, all 6 o'clock. So Golden West, Palomar next week, 6 o'clock. We have Chaffey College and East LA College next week, 6 o'clock. LA Valley and Pasadena City College, 6 o'clock. And, of course, last but not least, Fullerton College, your Hornets take on the Cerritos Falcons at, you guessed it, 6 o'clock. First and 10 for the Monarch offense. Another good kick return. That's one takeaway you could take from this game. Lester Towns has to be pleased with the returners and their ability to get up the field, get them consistently good field position. Last few times they've kicked return, they started the ball at least at the plus of 30 yards. However, just when they get the ball, their offense is unable to get any sort of push on the Mount SAC defensive front. In on the tackle, number 92, Inoke Katoa, out of Oakland, California. Another player who played in the 2019 season. A lot of experience on this Mount SAC defensive line. That's going to bode very well for them as they take on the likes of Fullerton College, of El Camino, Palomar, Southwestern. If you can win the battle in the trenches, at which they have tonight, Makes things a lot easier for the secondary, makes things a lot easier for the linebackers, makes things a lot easier for the offense. Getting a lot of running sideways by this Monarchs running backs. This one's handed off to Hudson. Hudson able to get a tough yard and a half, 3rd and 12. 4:30 left to go in the third. 2 receivers each side of the formation. Looks like Hudson stacked behind the receiver on the far sideline, and that's Quentin Herring stacked behind the receiver here on the near sideline. More pressure, nope. Just getting the alignment right here. Only sending 4. Still able to get pressure. Wesley Chaminga able to dance around. He slides forward, but he's dragged down from behind too. This is not only an athletic defensive line, this is a big, nasty defensive line. Number 98, Xavion Harrison. 6'6", 250 pounds. But if you saw that, he kept up and chased Chaminga from the back side and was able to tackle him as he was sliding forward. Athletic defensive line here, and that's going to be some problems down the road for opponents of Mount SAC. Bad snap, and this one's going to be another dancing around. Is he going to try and throw this? He did. Stepped out of bounds. Sloppy play from Dennis Wallace. He is the backup punter. As a backup punter, you don't expect to get in a whole lot of reps in a game, especially the first game of the year. But he was called to duty after Ezekiel Savage. Looked like he rolled his ankle, maybe tweaked a knee. Obviously, we don't have any information to verify that, but hopefully he's okay. He'll be ready next week for Pasadena City College. That's the biggest thing for both sides of this game right here is if you're the head coach of either team, you want to make sure your guys get out healthy. We've seen plenty of second string guys in for Mount SAC. They're starting to rotate in some second stringers in as well for LA Valley. Some confusion, getting a line. This one's handed off to another new running back. Off to the right side. Udangwu hands it off to Marcus Brown. We actually seen Marcus Brown earlier in the game. Sophomore from Upland High School, local to the area. Mount SAC will be taking on Saddleback College, and that should be a fun game. If you're into community college football, if you're in the, let's say, Orange County area, and you could circle any game to go watch in person, my hat's going to be on Mount SAC versus Saddleback College, 2 programs that have repeatedly put out guys to the Division I, Division II, different four-year university levels. Obviously, Mount SAC putting on their talents on full display for us here on SportsNetUSA.net at Monarchs Stadium. That game also kicks off on 6 p.m. Unfortunately, not on SportsNetUSA.net. First and 10. Udangwu hands it off to Brown. Up the middle. Tough 4 yards. Tackled down at the 13-yard line. Saddleback dominated their game today against Glendale College. We'll get you some statistics for that one if you're a Mounties fan listening to the game. Kind of get you prepared for Saddleback College. Drew Nash, their starting quarterback, threw for 184 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Their backup got in on the action too. Owen Easley threw for a touchdown as well. Andrew Wimmer led the way, 12 rushes for 105 yards. Broke off a 73-yarder. This one, going backwards, was Tommy Ovaro of Mount SAC. Not what you want to do there, but the time to get experimental is now if you're Mount SAC. Samuel Hicks had a big day for the Gauchos receiving corps. 5 receptions, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Kalen Coates also hauled in a 44-yard touchdown reception. Again, Saddleback taking on Mount SAC next week, 6 p.m. A lot of great 6 p.m. games next Saturday for the CCCAA. Again, sometimes community college football gets overlooked as kids who just want to continue playing after high school. Sometimes the competition's not great, but don't be mistaken by what you hear. Come out to some games, watch for yourself. Sure, the likes of Mount SAC won't be able to compete with the team that you see maybe on ESPN on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. This one's handed off to Brown. Brown trying to find the end zone. He's pushed out of bounds at the 3-yard line. But even though they may not beat a team that you see from the Power 5 conferences or even of the Group of 5 conferences, a lot of these players are developing from these great coaches, from these great programs to get to that level. And you'll see them playing on Saturdays eventually. Players like Akira McLean from LA Valley College was a player that got to continue playing. After LA Valley College. We spent a lot of time covering, or I spent a lot of time covering Fullerton College the past few seasons well. Players like Xavion Steele, Josh Tarango. All players playing at the next level. Few players from the 2019 roster here on the university, or excuse me, on Los Angeles Valley College got to move on to the next level. Akira McLean was a strong linebacker for the Monarchs in 2019. He got to transfer to the University of Pikeville. Craig Jones, a defensive back, transferred to the Missouri State University. Arturo Meza, long snapper and defensive lineman, is now at Miles College. Gregory Nathaniel, an offensive lineman, now playing at Midland University. Awan Parker, now at the University of Idaho, defensive back. That's a Division I program. Nathaniel Sutton, defensive end, now at Tennessee State University. Edward Nobles, defensive tackle 2 years ago, now at Fresno State, playing in the Mountain West. They were hanging in there with the University of Oregon earlier today. And many players as well from previous classes, but most recent under head coach Lester Towns. "15 minutes now on the clock. The Mounties switch sides. Urengu under center. Brown gonna bounce it outside. Can he get the corner? No, he gets pushed out. Good defensive stand there. And again, if you're Coach Towns, you want to see encouraging things here in this second half. Something to build towards next week. Good job by the corner to keep contained and the rest of the team to rally to the ball. 58-0 is the score. Mount SAC is up on LA Valley College. Noah Alvarez joined by Albert Robles. Some technical difficulties, but we hope you enjoy this pre-recording of the game. Brown able to sneak behind his guard and tackle over on the right side. Referee hasn't signified it yet. We're still waiting. Still waiting. And looks like there will be no touchdown called. Urengu wants to snap the ball right away. He's waiting. Umpire giving him the green light. No substitutions were made, so they should be able to no-huddle this and go as quickly as possible. Everybody up on the line except for the corners. I formation. Brown going to dive in, stay low, lower the pad level, and he's in for a touchdown. Marcus Brown gets in on the action. His first touchdown of the evening, and all these sophomore running backs, some from out of state, some from in-state, they're getting in on the action. Mount SAC showing their versatility, their depth, overall dominance here as a community college program. And obviously, if you're a team that plays Mount SAC later this year, you're watching this or you seeing this on the scoreboard, you're checking the box scores, you're thinking, damn, how are we going to stop them? "65-0 is the score with 14 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, fourth and final quarter. Again, we want to remind everybody and thank everybody for tuning in to sportsnetusa.net. I'll be covering a majority of the LA Valley College games this year. We know Alvarez. Next week they take on Pasadena City College. 6 p.m. is kickoff. That will be away at Pasadena City. September 18th, they travel to College of the Desert. That game will kick off at 7 p.m. Hopefully it's not as hot as today, because I'm sure that one will be a lot hotter out there at College of the Desert. September 25th, they have a bye. No game that week on that Saturday, so enjoy your time off. October 2nd, LA Harbor College comes to LAVC. That game kicks off at 6 p.m. And October 9th, they travel to my hometown of Santa Ana, and they take on the Dons of Santa Ana College. Santa Ana under, I wouldn't say controversy, but under some scrutiny. As new head coach Anthony White opted to not play Fullerton College. Now, there was some positive COVID cases that forced them to shut down practice-wise about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago. And despite them being able to practice again rather quickly after some negatives around, it's going to be, this is something that I mentioned earlier in the broadcast too when reading off some scores. It's going to happen. It's going to be a part of the season. It's going to be a part of all levels of football, whether it's a team canceling a game or an entire, player, some starters missing games. It's going to happen this year. And Santa Ana decided to obviously they had to get the game canceled because of COVID. They forfeited. And while Fullerton was able to offer them a remake, because neither team was playing this week, and they were able to practice this week, Santa Ana College was, entire week of practice, they still opted not to play the football game. It had been the 98th key to the county game. Coach Anthony White, new head coach at Santa Ana College. He coached a few years at Buena Park. I believe that's a backward pass, and that's going to be the easiest touchdown of the evening for Mount SAC. Wesley Taminga and the rest of the Monarch offense sitting there in disbelief. They can't believe that was a backward pass. On the return, scooping and scoring, Sierra Waters. "71-0 is the score, and Mount SAC might have to look up what their most points scored in the game was, because we're starting to near that. So after Santa Ana College, they begin SCFA, American Division Pacific League games. They start with Antelope Valley College on the road. That game will kick off at 6 p.m. That's on October 16th. The following week, October 23rd, they travel to Santa Barbara City College. They host Santa Barbara City College. I was hoping to go to Santa Barbara because that is a wonderful, lovely city by the coast. But Santa Barbara City College will come here to Valley Glen and take on the Monarchs at Monarchs Stadium. 6 p.m. again, October 23rd. October 30th, Moorpark College comes to the Monarchs Stadium. They'll take on LAVC at 6 p.m. November 6th, the Monarchs will travel to Santa Monica College. That game will kick off at 1 o'clock p.m. One of the few afternoon games they've had this year. And November 13th, they'll wrap up their 2021 season home against LA Pierce College at 6 p.m. "72-0 is the score. 13 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Carlton boots it again, 5 yards deep into the end zone. We've seen these Valley returners continuously to take risks, even though the ball's a few yards into the end zone. They want to make something happen. This has been the best unit thus far in today's game. Allison takes it out to about the 23-yard line, despite the ball being 5 yards back into the end zone. Wesley Taminga running the read option, and look at that. 5, 6, 7 players of the Mounties in on that tackle. Looked like number 58 was there first, so we'll give him the credit. Lovell Marimed. Elijah Hudson, the running back, alongside Wesley Taminga. Second down and 13. Taminga rolls out to his left. Makes a defender miss. Makes 2 defenders miss. Makes 3 defenders miss. And that should be a flag over on the sideline. There is 3 flags on the field. A lot of laundry to be picked up. Interested to see what all the calls are. Obviously, the flag for the late hit out of bounds will probably be after the whistle and assessed after the other 2 penalties if they were during the play. Again, things have gotten a little sloppier here at the end of the first half. It was a relatively clean third quarter. The Monarchs were able to move the ball. I don't want to say effectively because they have 0 points to score for it, but they were able to move the ball better than they did in the first and second quarter. Savage, however, did roll or injured some part of his lower half of his body and just unable to return back to the field, and obviously that's taken away a lot from the offense, especially when you're on your third-string quarterback. This game started with Zach Chevalier. Chevalier was obviously knocked out of the game. So the late hit will be on Lance Russell. And there was a personal foul penalty on Anthony Herbert. So a lot of yards to be gained here on this penalty. Monarchs gifted plenty of yards there. 1st and 10 from the Mounties, 42-yard line. 12-16 left to go here in the fourth. 2 receivers each side of Taminga. Can the Monarchs put something up on the board to give this home crowd something to cheer about? Receiver motioning right to left. And Taminga try to rifle it in to his intended receiver. That was Daquan Paul, wearing number 80. Mounties decided to go cover 2, so there was that hole there. As soon as the receiver breaks past the corner, runs full stride, if you could fit it up along that sideline, which Taminga wasn't able to do, you can get it there before the safety. Again, another roughing the passer. If we're going to look at the box score after this, there's definitely going to be a lot more first downs via penalties than there was via run or pass for the LA Valley this game. Very sloppy play by Mount Sac here, especially when the game's in wrap. You don't want to get your licks in like this against a third-string quarterback. Wesley Taminga, a freshman out of Canada, Canada Prep High School, it says here. Gonna motion Hudson from right to left in the formation. Quick screen pass, play out to the right side. Delviar tackled after a gain of about 1.5 yards. Again, it doesn't matter if it's the starters, the second stringers, the third stringers in. Mount SAC is flying to the ball at an unbelievable rate right now. "12 seconds left on the play clock. Saminga scans the defense. Rolls left. Has some decent time. Throws it up into the end zone. This one's thrown outside of the end zone. Out the back. Good pass blocking there by Hudson. He was tasked with chipping big number 96, Joshua Titiaiti. Able to give Saminga a clean pocket, however, overthrows the intended receiver. 11 minutes left to go in the fourth. Listening to LA Valley College football here on SportsNetUSA.net. Four-man front. Saminga slides down, gets sandwiched by a few defenders, and that's always tough as a defender. You know, obviously the new style of football wants to protect the quarterback, but obviously he just becomes a runner when he breaks the line of scrimmage like that. He's sliding, but he does get sandwiched, and it's a dangerous-looking play there. Jonathan Tills, the linebacker, and defensive lineman Matthew Torres were the ones who closed in on him. Could have been called for a penalty, but I thought it was a good no call by the referees there. 4th and 4, and they need to get to the 18-yard line of Mount SAC. Got to do something different here. This one's rifled over the middle. Make that 10. 10 drops on the evening for LA Valley College. Pass was intended for number 88, Adrian Wallace. Unable to hold it in. It was a little high. He did get one big paw on it. Rule of thumb, if you can get one hand on it, chances are you can most likely get two hands on it. Regardless, it's incomplete. Turnover on downs. 10 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game. You're listening to LA Valley College football here on SportsNetUSA.net. New quarterback in for Mount SAC, Ethan Harry. Freshman quarterback, standing at 6'4", from Alta Loma High School. Looks like a injured Monarch player is able to make his way to the sidelines. First time we're seeing Heary on the evening. Fakes the handoff, throws out to the flat on the right side. Look at that powerful stiff arm. Cato Seeley is a player that we saw start the game, so Mount SAC still has a few starters in. Seeley has 4 receptions on the game. In the backfield alongside Heary, number 47, Jimmy Morinaga, sophomore out of Temple City. Heary fakes it to Morinaga, and he tries to bounce it outside. Good open field tackle, and we've seen him play pretty much the whole evening. Sean Wilson, defensive back, freshman from Burbank, California. Old school player, doesn't use gloves. Looks like he has taped his fingers, taped wrist, with the hoodie underneath. Gotta respect the drip. 8:43 left to go here in quarter number 4. Monarchs showing pressure. Again, here he tries to bounce it outside, and it looks as if LA Valley trying to give Mount Sac a little taste of their own medicine. You're going to run your quarterback? All right, we're going to take a late hit on you. Do I agree with it? No, and if I was the head coach, I'd be relatively pissed. However, kind of like that, unwritten rules in baseball. If you hit my player, I'm going to hit your player. And it looks like they're bringing out Coach Lester Towns. Nope, they're going to bring out the field judge, excuse me. That one was a little bit more blatant. Obviously, the ones where LA Valley College quarterbacks were running, they were sliding. So they do call a targeting penalty on number 28 for LA Valley College. That's Vicente Cepeda. He's out of the game. He can't play next week either? Or at least for the first half, right? Because he was disqualified in the second half of this game. Morinaga runs through a few arm tackles over on the left side, gets the handoff from Heary. Something to keep an eye on, too. Vicente Cepeda, starting defensive back for this Monarch defense. Because he was ejected in the second half of this game, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he'll be ejected or, suspended and unable to play in the first half of the Pasadena City College game. Here in shotgun formation. Again, little option play. Runs with him. Ball squirts loose, but an offensive lineman falls on it. Looks like Richard Graham forced that fumble. He's been all over the field today. A little bit undersized for a linebacker, especially compared to this Mount Sac offensive line, this mammoth of an offensive line. But he's been hustling, playing all over the field. Here he fakes the handoff again to the flat, again to Seeley. Seeley tries to lower the shoulder, but getting even lower was corner Shabani Etienne. I formation. Ben, the fullback in the game. They give it to him. Good, tough run. It's enough for the first down. Jermaine Dendy getting back in on the action from South Carolina. 6:20 left to go in the game. This snap is squirted out. Didn't look like he got a clean snap, and it kind of spun in the air kind of awkwardly towards here. He just does a smart job and falls on it. Loss of 3 yards on the play. Interesting decision there. Looks like they're going to bring back in Ben, the fullback. Create some running lanes for Dendy. Seeley's still out there as a tight end. Near sideline, we have Xavier Rawls, freshman receiver from Rancho Cucamonga. Here under center. Something you don't see a lot in the college level nowadays. Waiting for the play clock to run all the way down. 3, 2, ball snapped. Monarchs are able to jump the snap. And that's one threat you do face when trying to run the ball or run the clock all the way down on the play clock. They can see it too on the opposite side, so they know 2, 3 seconds left. Hey, we're expecting to jump this snap. Penalty on the play before the ball is snapped. Timeout, no. No penalty. Timeout to Los Angeles Valley. 72-0 is the score. Mount SAC leading over LA Valley College. Again, you're listening to LA Valley College football on sportsnetusa.net. Reminder, next week we'll have LA Valley College at Pasadena City College. That game kicks off at 6 p.m. Myself and Ryan Osborne will be on the call. This one's a draw play up the middle. Also on sportsnetusa.net. Golden West will be traveling to Palomar, taking on the Comets. Catch that game on sportsnetusa.net at 6 p.m. Fullerton will be also taking on the Cerritos Falcons at Cerritos College. Looks like there was too many players on the field, and I think Lester Towns calling another timeout. 3:52 left to go in the fourth. Cerritos host Fullerton, 6 p.m. kickoff. And last but not least, ELAC going to Chaffey College. And you guessed it, 6 p.m. kickoff. LA Valley marching back out to the field, as does Mount SAC. It's 4th down and long for the Mounties. Probably just going to run the ball, maybe air it out. We'll see. We haven't seen them throw in a while, or throw deep in a while. The ball, yard to gain is a 23-yard line. Here he drops back, forced to roll right. Tries, oh, he does make a defender miss, and this one just sidearmed. It was intended for 88. A few yards short of the intended receiver. LA Valley College walking off the field, some of them jogging. Still 3 minutes and 45 seconds to get on the board. Avoid the shutout. Time to pull something deep out of your bag of tricks. First and 10, ball at the Monarchs, 42-yard line. Saminga, 2 receivers to each side. Another dropped ball, this time again by Adrian Wallace on the far sideline. Saminga's hit from the back. This one ruled incomplete, but took a dangerous hit from a defender trailing him on the play in the backfield. Tough running there from Quanta Pugh, freshman from Gardena, California. 4th and 4, still need to go for it. Trips to the right, possibly the last offensive play for LA Valley on the night. Saminga trips. Dodson. Pressure right away. Saminga has a whole lot of green on the left side of the field. He runs and picks up the first down. Saminga, 1st and 10 from the Mounties 40-yard line. Throws it up. Seems like there was miscommunication, and they're going to give a pass interference call. Little sus pass interference call this late in the game. Looked like the outside receiver over there was Adrian Wallace. He ran a comeback route, and Saminga was expecting him to run a streak up the sideline. First and 10, LA Valley has the ball on the Mounties 29-yard line, 24-yard line. Saminga keeps backpedaling, just throws out of bounds, and it's another roughing the passer penalty called again. Whether it was Saminga, whether it was Chevalier, or Ezekiel Savage, the quarterbacks for LA Valley have been taking a beating all evening long. They're going to need some ice baths right after this one. They're going to be ready for Pasadena City College next week. Shotgun of formation again. 3 receivers flanked out to Saminga's right. Dotson on his right. Haven't seen a whole lot of Julian Moore since early in the second quarter. This one's thrown into the end zone. A little bit of contact. A little bit of contact, but they are not going to throw any penalties. Pass was intended for Andre Lawson. Second down and 10. And looks like there was miscommunication on what the cadence was going to be. Some of the running backs and receivers took off on their routes, but the offensive line did not snap the ball. Motioning Dotson out to the flats on the right side. Seminga steps up. He steps up in the pocket. Oh, not exactly sure what the plan was there. He definitely jumped into the defender, making the hit, looking a little bit more exaggerative. Seminga stands all of 5'11", 190 pounds, coming from Canada Prep High School. Got to be careful when you're running up against a defender from Mount SAC like that. 3rd and 10, minute and 5 seconds left to go in this fourth quarter. We want to thank everybody again for tuning in to LA Valley College Football on SportsNetUSA.net. This one's thrown into the flats. 1 defender misses, 2 defender misses, 3 defender misses, but they did lose 3 yards on the play. 4th and about 15 yards. The yard to gain is the 3-yard line. They're going to run out a field goal unit. So just to avoid the shutout, Lester Towns and company are going to send out the field goal unit. 72-3 looks a lot better than 72-0. Timeout called by head coach Lester Towns. Again, next week, I will be joining Ryan Osborne at Pasadena City College. Game will kick off at 6 p.m. You can catch that game on SportsNetUSA.net. We want to thank everybody again for tuning in. And thank everybody, all the fans who came to Monarchs Stadium tonight, whether you're representing the Monarchs or the Mounties. It's good to have community college football back. It's good to have sports and fans in person. Reminder to be respectful regardless if your team's winning or losing, regardless of how you feel about that current player in the moment. This ball is kicked and absolutely shanked, pulled to the left. Partially blocked, PA announcer says. Guillermo Collin. I think saying blocked is relatively generous. Guillermo Collin had little to no leg on that one. And with 6 seconds left, Mount SAC, all they have to do is take a knee, and the game will officially be over. Again, I'm Noah Alvarez. I was joined by Albert Robles behind the scene. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties, but Thank you again for tuning in to sportsnetusa.net. Catch us next week at Pasadena City College. Myself, Ryan Osborne. We'll have that kickoff at 6 o'clock. That'll do it here from Monarchs Stadium. 72-0 is the final score in this one. Wishing everybody a wonderful night and happy Labor Day weekend.